All right, welcome to the Illinois Learn to Hunt program. We are Illinois Learn to Hunt program, the Hunt Illinois podcast. Believe that in. All right, welcome to Hunt Illinois podcast. So today we're going to go over some. We've been out hunting. We've been hunting a lot. We've done mentored hunts. We've done some personal hunts. So we got a lot of updates to go just with what we've been seeing, what we've been doing. So if you're interested in all that, we'll tell you what we got up to and some of the experiences we've had. But before we get into that, Dan has some outdoor updates. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so obviously, like you said, we're in the heart of hunting season. So there's not too much news to kind of cover, but a few things we do want to remind everybody of. The first spring turkey lottery has concluded, and you can now go back into the system and see if you were successfully drawn a permit or not. So you can go through the exploremoreil.com website, look at your application status, see if you drew a permit, and go from there. But what I do want to emphasize is we are recording this on December 12th. It's a Friday. Today is the first day of the second lottery. So if you did not draw a permit during the first one, or maybe you want to try to shoot for a second permit, that application period is currently open, and you have a month. So it closes on January 12th, 2026. So you've got plenty of time to get that second application in. And all hunters are eligible to apply during the second lottery. So even non-residents, the first lottery is obviously residents only, but the second lottery does open up the opportunity for non-residents, and group application are still accepted. So that's kind of it in terms of like application processes, kind of important dates and stuff. But I do want to talk, obviously we're in the midst of archery season still quite a bit for deer. And like I said, we're recording this on December 12th. So today is actually the first day of our muzzleloader season here in Illinois. That season runs December 12th through December 14th. And then we have a special CWD season and a late winter antlerless. Now, remember, this is not a statewide season. There are specific counties that are open for each of these seasons. So definitely refer to Illinois DNR's website or the digest to see what counties are open for these two seasons. But we have the special CWD season January 1st through 4th, and again, January 16th through 18th in select counties. And then we have our late winter antlerless season, which is the same dates, January 1st through the 4th, and January 16th through the 18th. So again, make sure you check which county you'll be hunting in to see if either of those seasons are actually open in those specific areas. Because again, not a statewide season, but another good opportunity to get out with a firearm and hunt some of the late season action, which I love late season hunting. A lot of fun. But yeah, that's about all I kind of have for, general news updates, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. I think when we left off, it was right before firearm deer season. So I know I have some updates from firearm deer season. Did anyone else make it out during firearm deer season?
Yeah, so I made it out. Unfortunately, I did not have a tag this year. I did not draw a tag, but my wife did, so we got out a little bit. So I'll definitely, share some stories from that.
All right. How'd it go?
It went. So the place we were hunting is a fairly small piece of public land. And the area, now I will say she was struggling with some health issues, so we didn't get out as much as we wanted to. I think we only ended up hunting one day during the first season and then one evening during the second season. So we didn't get out a ton. We didn't kind of maximize our odds, but it was really nice to get out because the snow was covering the ground, so you could see a long distance away. And one of the areas that we really wanted to focus on, you have to cross a creek. And unfortunately, the creek is pretty eroded, so you have kind of steep embankments on either side. And the darn thing was just so icy because that was when they had that really big snow. It was cold, that we could not climb up that other side. We were sliding down. And so we didn't get to sit where we actually wanted to sit. So we kind of pulled back and hunted a little bit more of the fringe areas. And unfortunately, we saw lots of activity. I'll throw some B-roll up. We saw a mom doe and two fawns. That evening, we probably had, 8 or 9 does come by, but unfortunately, they were all on the other side of the river, which is technically a different piece of property, which we did not have a permit for. So we saw a ton of deer, but none of them were on our side of the river where we needed them. But I know you got out quite a bit.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to remember when I did get out. I was like, what did I do? I think I got out all 3 days for the first season. I've had a lot of problems this year. I hadn't ever hunted this spot. I've hunted this spot during archery season. I never had a firearm tag for it, and I don't know if I didn't realize how many firearm tags I probably gave out for it. So it was more crowded than I thought it was going to be. I didn't bump into any. I bumped into one person because I started walking around quite a bit, and I saw someone from 400 yards away. But just a parking lot had a lot of cars.
Orange. Yeah,
it is a nice thing about Orange. But when I first got there, I thought I was on time. First day, I was like, oh man, I totally know where I want to go, and I got there exactly when I wanted to be there. And there's one other car in the parking lot, and you could go any way from that parking lot. Like you got 1,000 acres you can go to from that one parking lot. You could walk to if you wanted to. And I'm like, well, I'll go down to that spot I want to go sit. And if I see a flashlight, I got here so early that I could probably turn around, come back, and go somewhere else. So then, oh, I remember. No, there's more to the story. I forgot what happened to me this day. So then I hoofed it out to the spot. I got down. It was going to be a bottomland field, and then the flashlight popped on, and like again, a couple hundred yards away from me. I never got even close to the guy, but I was like, well, that's where that guy went, and so I turned right back around, went back out to the car. And there's two guys sitting there getting out of their trucks, and I'm just like, there's the guy on the bottom down there. I'm like, and then I was getting in my car, and they're like, do you know him? I'm like, no, I just walked down there. He's down there on the bottom. If you guys are going that way, there's already someone down there. And like, you went there and back already? And I'm just like, yeah. I'm just like, I got here early, but it wasn't early enough. So then I went bopping around parking lot, finally got to where I wanted to go. And then I headed out from there. And it was actually starting to get light at that point because a bridge was out in the area. So I had to do a detour path and everything else. But so it started getting light, and I was like, well, I'd rather just let it get light now, so that way I don't like just kick a bunch. Like, it would be light enough just to see tails jumping away from me at that point. So might as well wait for shooting lights, so that way I can walk in and try to sneak my way into this spot instead of pumping all the deer out of there.
Yeah, that's the nice thing with firearm. You have that opportunity. It's a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. So then,
and this was your first hunt with your 350 Legend, right?
I went out last year with it.
Okay.
I've struggled with this gun so much with the scope on it because I fell last year, and I think that rattled the scope, and then I was off. I never shot it last year, but I fell last year and I was worried about it. I took it to the range and it was off because I fell so hard. I slipped down a slope when it was snow on the ground. And it was off. And then so this year I'm like, I'm going to sight my scope in again before season starts. And we went with my buddy, and I tried. It was not, I want it to be a tack driver. Like, I want it to be like a grouping of like a quarter. Like, I really, really want to have confidence in my weapon. And I could not get this thing to sight in perfectly. Like, it was good enough. Like, I was hitting like a small dish, not quite a dinner plate, but it was good enough.
Like a saucer dish type. Yeah.
I'm like, this is a rifle, man. Like, this should be, I'm not this bad of a shot that it's all over the place. My buddy was like, maybe it's you. I'm like, I don't think I'm that bad. So then, so that brings me to what happened. So I start walking from my car to when I finally, when I was sighting in my gun, I never really, I tightened some bolts and stuff on it, but I missed a couple, I guess, because when I started walking, I feel something rattling on my gun, and there's nothing that should be rattling on this gun. And that's when I realized that my Picatinny rail was loose and was going back and forth, and it wasn't
the scope
tight.
itself wasn't loose. The actual mounting rail. Oh, okay.
And I never touch that from like ever. Like, I don't know. I never messed with that at the range. Like, at the range, I was only taking it out of the case, shooting the gun, put it back in the case. I never walked with the gun anywhere. So when I started walking is when I started feeling that vibration, and I'm just like, oh crap. I'm like, I can't shoot anything with this thing right now. And as I was sitting there looking at that, a little like 4-pointer came up and got on the trail right I was standing on, and then he turned and started walking right at me. And I mean, my gun was down by my knees. And he walked straight at me, and he got within like 7 yards, was doing the whole head movement thing, trying to see what I was. And I was right on property line, and then he walked to my right, and as soon as he steps off the trail, he's stepping on some private property. And I don't know if I would have shot him anyway if I had a scope that would have worked or whatever, or he was that close, or what I would have done. I just sat there and watched him at that point. I'm just like,
enjoyed the moment.
Dude. Yeah. I'm just like, whatever. And then so then he got around me, and then he ran off. But anyway, luckily my buddy who has the range key was hunting the same area I was hunting, so we met up and went over and shot it at the range, and then that's when I tightened everything up, and it's good now. So that did happen.
Have you tried Loctite? That's something I've started doing, because just the vibrations of a car over time just start, even on my crossbow. I cannot remember if it's blue or red. Don't use the permanent Loctite, but whichever one is like the semi-permanent. I'm a big fan of using that on all my bolts and Allen wrench keys and stuff on scopes, and just a little more peace of mind.
You're not wrong.
Blue is the one you want. Blue.
Okay. Yep. Blue.
Yep. Blues. That's one I always see. Yep.
Do you guys want to explain what that is?
Yeah, so it's essentially just a material that you put on the threads of a screw, and it just helps hold that screw taut. And so there's two. Actually, I think there's three types of Loctite, but the red is like permanent. Don't use that. You will you'll never be able to get that thing off. But the blue just adds a little bit more, so that subtle vibration from driving, from walking around, all that stuff, it won't rattle those screws loose. And it doesn't take much. Just a little dollop on each bolt is usually plenty. And sometimes you'll even see it on stuff, that you receive. If you ever pull out a bolt and it's got a little like spot of blue, that's the Loctite.
Yep.
There you go. Stocking stuffer idea.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. So then I saw him in the morning, didn't see nothing else that morning. I was kind of kicking myself. Started walking around, and just scouting. I was at a new area I hadn't been before because I got pushed out of all the other areas. So then I walked down in an area that I hadn't been to yet, and I found a bunch of nice rubs and stuff. And then I was walking through a honeysuckle thicket, which at the time all the leaves were yellow, so it was almost like walking through like this cloud of yellow leaves. And then within 10 yards of me, I heard something get up and go like patoom patoom as it like bounds away from you, like it sounded like a big buck that was bedded on the shoreline. And I was like, oh, that was a big one. And then my buddy called me up and he said he was done. And that's when we went to the range. And then we went to the range. And then after that, my buddy went home because he was too cold. And then so I went back out and started walking around some of these grassy fields and stuff. And then I actually kicked up a real mature buck and a doe. And I wasn't able to shoot at them or nothing, but they bounded away. And that was really cool to see. I mean, there was still some rutting activity going on. Like they were bedded down with each other. So that was the first week of firearm season. And then the next day I hunted somewhere where leaving that area, there was a no hunting area near some of the park offices and stuff. And I saw another mature buck there, and I saw like 6 or 7 doe get kicked out from like right behind the park office. So then the next morning I sat on the line of where you're not allowed to hunt at to where you can hunt at. So looking into
so behind you was not huntable, everything in front
looking at the area that I'm allowed to hunt. I'm like, well, they're all stacked in behind the office. We'll see if they come out. And I didn't see nothing that morning. And then the next day, I almost didn't go out the next day because it's been cold and I was tired. But
were you hearing any shots throughout this first season?
Not really. I heard more waterfowl shooting. It sounded like actually, but no. The first day was really cold and not that much. The second day was a little bit warmer, and also it was a Saturday, so I heard a lot more shots that morning than I did the first morning. And then I got a side job, so I was working that night until like 11 o'clock at night, and I really didn't know if I wanted to go out. But I talked to my dad. My dad's like, "Dude, you have 7 days out there because he's back in Pennsylvania where they have a month and a half." And he's like, "Dude, you got 7 days. You got to go out." I'm like, "I know." I'm like, "All right." So then I go out. I'm sorry this is taking too long, but anyway, so we go out and. That's when I got a deer. So long story short, I did get a deer. So I was sitting there, and my buddy who got cold the day before wanted to leave again. And it was 9:30. I was like, "Dude, just give it to 10. Come on." The way this worked was, I've seen this before, just to let you know. So the sun moved across the field, and it wasn't until 10 o'clock when there's about 20 yards worth of shade from the southern side of the field where all the doe came out and were standing in that shaded spot. So they could see the whole field. It was all well lit, and they were staying in the shade. And I just think that's so crazy for animal behavior that they know enough to be like, we blend into this color right here. Mm-hmm. And also, it was really cool because the only way I saw them standing there, I would have seen them eventually, but the way I saw them was I was watching a fox squirrel all morning in this field, burying nuts in the field, and I was just watching his behavior, and then out of nowhere, he got agitated and jumped on this little shrub tree that was in the field, and I'm like, what's he doing? Why did he jump up there? And then a blue jay landed down in the same tree, and then it started squawking like crazy, and then I remember hearing that blue jay squawk at deer, and that's what made me look closely at that field edge, and that's when I saw the whole herd of like 8 does were standing there. And then the biggest doe of the group came out, and she started walking around, and then she went to the left because they're almost so packed together you couldn't shoot any of them because they're too close to each other. And then she started leading them away or leading them around, and she walked ahead of them, and I was able to shoot her at about 125 yards. And luckily my gun was on at that point, and she dropped right there. But yeah, man. So that was my firearm season. So it was a lot of ups and downs, man. It was the freaking scope being jacked up, almost getting ran over by a little fork, and then kicking a bunch of big bucks out of areas and not getting any shots and beating the crap out of myself and being tired from working other jobs, and then finally make myself go out the next day to get a doe. So a lot happened in 3 days.
That's exciting.
Wildlife watching on top of it. Watching
Yeah,
other things.
and trying to get keys from other animals. That was the coolest thing, honestly. I was like, holy cow, I'm doing it. Even if I've been doing this this is my 25th year of hunting, because I've been hunting since I was 12. And even picking up on little key stuff like that still gives me a kick. I mean, it's so funny to be like, I'm like, I really did pay attention to that blue jay. Like, that's not a
myth. Right.
No, it's not a myth. I actually was like, hey, look around real quick. There might be a deer stand here. And sure as heck, there's freaking 8 of them. But anyway.
Awesome.
Makes you want to put on a loincloth and move into the woods, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I know, Curtis, you got out a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't have an Illinois tag, but I was hunting family property in Missouri, and so I was hunting my uncle's farm, and they're they practice quality deer management, so they try to just shoot mature bucks, and they're actually in a county with a 4-point restriction in Missouri, so you do have to be careful. You can't. It's not even legal to take a buck unless it has at least 4 points on one side, and a scoreable point's got to be an inch or more. So, had my binoculars, all that kind of stuff, and saw a couple small bucks early. Never saw a doe, but just small bucks that were either not legal or not big enough. My Uncle Eddie took a nice 9-pointer. Second or third day of the season, so he was done, and then that opened up kind of his stand. I started hunting in that general area. This is next to Quiver River in Missouri, so pretty cool area, a lot of deer, although I didn't really see a ton of does. I saw several small bucks. I got a little bit of B-roll. Maybe we can put some of it on here, but went all the way to basically the last Sunday of the season, so the season did go on a couple more days, but because of work and school drop-offs and pickups and all that, my last day to hunt was Sunday. So talked to my uncles. They told me, hey, we got a couple, of these 8-pointers that are kind of on the hit list as, like, management deer, right? Because they just got smaller tines, like... take them out of the gene pool if you get a chance. They're legal deer, 2.5-year-old. So one of those came in, this real dark horned, he's a 9-point. I mean, technically I guess an 8-point, because one of them was less than, I think it was right under an inch. But anyway, 8-point came in, real dark antlered deer. And I got a chance to look at it real good with my binos. It kind of circled me all the way around, so I did get some.
And it never winded you? That's cool.
No, it never winded me. I wasn't up real high. Their stand there, it's a kind of a permanent stand they have built. It's maybe 18 feet high, but it's at the so there's not a ton of topography there, but it is at kind of the top of the highest point. So this is the morning time, and thermals were on my side, right? I always carry around a milkweed pod in my pockets. I usually got multiple ones in different pockets, so I can always pull out some of those little seeds that float on the wind and see which way the wind's going. The wind always goes uphill, so like I was right up on the top. I don't know. My wind's like shooting straight up into the clouds. I'm not sure. It circled me like almost 270 degrees.
Jeez.
Never winded me, including walking over where I walked in on. Of course, that was, 2.5 hours before this happened. But anyway, never alerted me. Of course, this was a 2.5-year-old buck. It wasn't like the wisest old deer in the woods. I don't want to say that. 2.5-year-old buck. But, hey, I got a chance to look at him real good. I knew it was one of the ones that was on the management hit list. I knew it was a legal buck. It was my last day. So I got a shot that I felt good with, and he dropped in his tracks. I was trying to film it with my phone as I was shooting a rifle with a scope, all of these moving parts. I did a horrible job filming it, but my goal, number one goal was an effective shot on the deer, obviously. Secondary was getting footage. So I missed on my secondary, but luckily I hit on my primary goal, and the deer just tipped right over. I was shooting my 243, because again, Missouri, so I can do that. 243, don't yell at me. But I was shooting all copper bullets, and this was the first animal actually that I had shot with these all copper bullets. I don't have the box nearby. I think they're 85 grain. I'll have to check on that. But anyway, deer dropped in its tracks. I mean,
did you get an exit?
Kinda. We found like half of the copper bullet underneath the skin, and I guess the other half blew through because we did have an exit hole, but half of it retained. So like it split, it mushroomed out, and then half of that mushroom, I don't know if it broke on a rib or what, but it exited out, and then half of it was still in there. But yeah, he just tipped right over, didn't move. And I gave him time, to do his thing, obviously, climbed down. Even though he tipped right over, I still waited probably 30 minutes before I climbed down. And, yeah, he never once moved. Obviously, no blood trail because he didn't take a step. But makes it easy to find him. And I really learned this after the buck I shot a couple years ago in Pike County, Illinois. I shot him. He was coming up, but I was like mid-slope, and so to get back to my truck, I had to drag that thing uphill for a couple hundred yards, and that 150-pound deer, I swear it weighed 500 pounds by the time I got back to my truck, is at least what I thought. This guy, I was up at, like I said, the peak of the whole area, so everything was downhill. That was the most pleasurable drag.
That's awesome.
I mean, that thing, I felt like the deer was walking behind me, and I was just walking him on a leash. That was great. That was awesome. So, yeah, I did. I filled the tag. I got deer in my freezer. I still do have an antlerless tag that the antlerless season's going on now. I might try to do that this weekend because, as you all know, we're filming this on December 12th. We have this nice polar vortex coming in, and I love getting out in polar vortexes because how often do we get to experience that and just getting to see what the animals are doing? Obviously, be extra safe, tell people where you're going, bring enough clothes that if your car breaks down, you're not going to keel over. Anything can happen. If your battery or starter is wanting to go out, guess what? It's going to go out when we get the negative 20 wind chill. So be prepared for all that. But all those things aside, I love getting out in these times because we just don't get that many opportunities to experience it. And sometimes the animals do things you wouldn't expect, like Jason was talking about. You never know what you're going to see out there, but it's usually something pretty cool.
Yep. I mean, it kind of goes back to I was hunting in Missouri with my brother. Now, I didn't buy a tag or anything, but he obviously lives in Missouri, so he has a tag. But we were there over Thanksgiving for, just spending family time over the holiday. And that happened to be one of Missouri's CWD seasons for the specific county we were in. And so we got to get out a little bit, and it was so freaking cool. And if you listen to the podcast for quite a few years, last year I actually went out with my brother during the exact same time of year during the CWD season, which happened to be over Thanksgiving. We had a snow event, and we shot a really nice buck that day. And this Thanksgiving, we had another snow event, so we did the exact same thing, hoping we'd get some activity. We saw tons of does. I think we had 8 or 9 does come in. Never saw anything nice, but I love these weather changes. Whenever you get a really nice weather change, like you said this weekend, the polar vortex, it just really, not only is it fun to get out and experience something new, but it also seems you get a little uptick in wildlife activity. So always look forward to that.
Well, yeah, they're not used to it either, so they go to their normal place and they're like, brr, hey, I gotta find somewhere else, this ain't cutting it right now.
Yep. And that's kind of why I'm excited. We have this weather moving in this weekend. Lauren and I have a pretty big upland mentored hunt tomorrow at Des Plaines State Fish and Wildlife Area. We've got, I think, 10 or 11 hunters coming, a bunch of different dogs and handlers. So it's going to be a fun day. But again, we get to hunt in the snow, and pheasant hunting in the snow is just chef's kiss. So very excited.
Still wish we had our trapping workshop, though.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart we had to cancel it or postpone it. It's not actually canceled.
There you go.
We will be doing it. So if you're interested,
what are the new dates for that? We might as well go ahead and announce that right now, just since you brought it up.
January 17th.
Sounds right. Let me pull it up on Eventbrite real quick to make sure. But yeah, we mostly canceled it for participants.
It's going to be freaking cold. Yeah.
Because we technically could have still done it, but it's not going to be very comfortable. And the site was open to us moving it to January, so very likely we're going to have much better weather for this new date. Hopefully it works out for the folks that signed up for it. But yeah, the new date is January 17th. And we've got that starting at 9 o'clock, so a little bit earlier than our normal workshops, but we are actually going to try to run a short trap line as a part of this. So we'll also be like making the sets and talking about common sets right there with everybody so you can see how they're made. But we'll also run a short little trap line that we set out the night before. So it's possible, with any luck, that we catch something. We might have a beaver, muskrat, who knows?
And that brings up a really good point, just to kind of illustrate, obviously we postponed it for comfortability and safety of participants, but also, if you're not new, if you're new into trapping, you may not realize, but if you set traps, you are legally required to check those traps every 24 hours. And so if there's a life event or a weather event that prohibits you from doing so, technically you're in violation. So that was another big concern of ours is, we're supposed to get a little bit of snow overnight that night. And it would really be awful if we had an entire trap line set up and then, for whatever reason, we couldn't get in there because due to weather, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's once you set a trap, that trap is your responsibility to run every day. You don't have an excuse. I don't care if you break your toe, if your car breaks down, none of those things matter. And that's why most trappers are going to have a trapping partner that's going to know where their sets are or be capable of running their sets if you hand them a GPS with all the points on it or a paper map. But those sets have to be run every single day. And a good story I like to tell to really show this is I was a trapper on Department of Defense lands, right? So this was the Navy and also the Marines, on their bases. I was a trapper out there. And one time I had traps set and there was a beach fire that's coming through. And so they put out an alert and they closed the beach. Unfortunately, this is before I ran my traps, and so I'm there, and the military police are telling me, they're like, hey, beach closed because we got a fire. And I'm like, well, I got traps set, and they said that it doesn't matter, beach is closed, it's closed. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to arrest me, I got to check these traps. And so I went out and checked the traps, and they let me do it, and it was fine, and I never got arrested or anything, but like, that I knew the fire wasn't where we were. It wasn't going to come right there. Like, it was fine for me to check those. They just were checking boxes. But I was like, hey, I'm sorry, Marine. I'm going to check my traps unless you
legally required.
Arrest me.
But so if you were a trapper and you had this weather coming, this might be a day that you're like, the weather doesn't suck right now. I'm going to go spring them. I'm going to go pull them, whatever. So you don't have to go. If you're worried about not being able to do it the next, like with the weather tomorrow, is what a lot of people would go do.
Yeah, so I'm sure a ton of trappers this weekend, they're like, hey, you know what? I don't know how much snow we're getting. I'm just going to snap my traps or pull them, and we'll reset after this thing moves on through.
Awesome. Well, I think that kind of wraps up deer, but I know we've had several waterfowl hunts to talk about. I'll let kind of Curtis and Lauren take over first, because I know you guys put a pretty big haul up to northwestern Missouri. Was it a week or two ago? How'd that go?
Yeah, that's so I drew on the what's called the quick draw. So for those that don't know, Missouri does this thing called the quick draw waterfowl reservation system, where every single week you can put in to try to draw these hunting spots. And I think it's about 25% of the hunting spots that they try to allocate through this way. This is in addition to each day. There's people who drew it in the yearly draw, which is also a draw that people can get in. And then also some of those spots are reserved for what's called the quote-unquote pour line, which is what it's been called for a long, long time, where people just show up and try to draw. And they basically make it where a certain percentage of those spots go to each of those three different ways to draw. Well, being that a lot of these areas that are good to hunt are a ways away, like Dan alluded to, I try to do the quick draw and the yearly draw so that I know I have a spot so I don't get turned away, which is something I didn't have to worry about nearly as much in my college days, but I worry about it more now. And so, I finally hit on Bob Brown. I drew 8 or 9, I can't remember. So 8. So it was a good draw, but we hit the weather right where it was kind of super still, kind of stale day.
And this was over right before that Thanksgiving snowstorm hit, right?
Yeah, it was the day before Thanksgiving.
And then Yeah, checking the weather, like I started thinking, oh man, this is going to be good because we were getting a little bit of northwest wind. It was like a little bit of a front, and I started seeing that the Dakotas were getting hammered with snow, and I was like, dang, we might have hit this like right
Can
on
you
the
explain that
nose.
northwest wind, why that's so important? Just because you mentioned it.
Yeah, sure. So because these waterfowl are migratory and they're migrating basically from the north to the south, from the prairie pothole region, which is like the Dakotas and up into Canada, all that. That's where the bulk of these migrating ducks are coming from. So when we have a northwest wind or a wind coming from the northwest and going towards the southeast, that is a very favorable wind for both the ducks to migrate where they want to go and to get the ducks to us, since they are a bit to the west of us. That little bit of, push from that direction towards the east is good. It generally gets us more birds. So anyway, everything was looking good, and I don't know if I want to say I was like over cocky or what, but like I kind of adopted this shot strategy that we were going to be, which is what I used to do with my friends all the time, very conservative shot strategy. Because two of our hunters, for Lauren and for Shannon, it was going to be their first duck. And so I didn't want it to be this thing like where we all shot and then ducks fall and it's like, who got what, who got what. I was like, oh, it's going to be a good day. We're going to have all kinds of opportunities. So let's just slowly take turns shooting. First it's Shannon, then it's Lauren, and, thinking we're going to have all these opportunities. Anyway, fast forward, the day did not turn out to be nearly as fast as I thought it was going to be. We still had opportunities. We should have had 9 or 10 ducks. We were all off, myself included.
Yeah. I was like, wow. It was. Whew.
Just one of those days. Yep.
Whew.
Yeah, I put up an 0 for. I was 0 for 6, didn't touch a duck. I thought I was shooting blanks at one point. At least my first 3 shots were like, I mean, they were good shots of ducks decoying indoor decoys. I'm not talking passing shots. My last 3 shots, maybe those were like desperation, like, oh, let's just scratch something kind of thing. But, yeah, we should have had 9 or 10 ducks, but we walked out of there with not a single one. One was knocked down that probably Lauren and Shannon both hit. Who knows? It came down, and Shannon was excited, and she went out to get it, and I called. I was like, oh, don't forget to bring your gun, but she was already a couple steps, and she didn't hear me, because when you're walking in the water,
it's loud. Yeah,
you might as well be next to a jet engine. You can't hear anything. And she got in a race with the mallard, and you know what? The mallard wins that race a lot of times.
Did it die?
I'm not sure because it got into the brush a little bit before she did, and so we couldn't see. But it might have dove, or it might have just outswam her, outran her. I mean, Shannon's pretty quick. She's pretty spry. She put a good race on there, but she's
and
not
she
quite
looked.
like.
I mean, she made her good effort.
She's not quite like Gus the Lab. That we got some good footage of Gus the Lab taking on a goose from our second hunt. So anyway, that one was a roller coaster of emotions. I think we had fun. We got to see a lot of birds. I mean,
I saw more ducks. I saw more ducks than I've seen in Illinois at any one time. Somewhere that I could hunt them. So, and a variety. And that's Shannon cool. On the way back was like, even though we didn't come home with anything, she's like, that's more fun than deer hunting. She's like, I want to do more. So we had a good time.
That's for sure. Like, and not to downplay deer hunting. I love to eat deer, so I'm always going to deer hunt.
But she said it was exciting. Like, it was just more of an exciting, thing. And I'm like, I don't know what was wrong with me. I'm like, I've gotten geese. Like, Dan's seen me get geese, so I don't know what my issue was that day. We were all
everyone has days off. Like that. Yep.
We were just, I don't know if I was cold or what. I was like, man, it was a struggle.
But good diversity of birds. At one point, I seen what was probably like the nicest drake pintail that like I would have ever seen anybody harvest if we would have got it. And it was working good, like 2-3 passes. We probably almost could have taken it, but it really looked like it was going to come in and land. And then I don't remember if it maybe caught us moving or what happened, but it didn't finish. But a beautiful drake pintail. We had gadwall in the decoys that were like also just, I mean, stud gadwall.
Yeah,
like
we had a couple. times a couple different gadwalls that were like, we had one that was shot, I think it was a gadwall, right? That it was like, you were like, you didn't have a shot. And I was like, no, because you didn't have a great shot either. It was like the way it was, the angle, it was like neither of us, it was too far out. But
so in our decoys, we had teal in our decoys, we had mallard, we had gadwall, we had pintail at the edge of our decoys, and I think widgeon early.
Nice.
So yeah, we had a good diversity. So again, like we didn't hit it just right because the weather, it wasn't a super awesome day. I think they averaged around 3.3 bird per hunter average, which, hey, a good day, but not great for there. That's definitely on the lower end of the scale for Bob Brown. And we, of course, wrecked the average way down, but that's okay. That's going to happen sometimes. And
Yep.
like Lauren said, hey, we still had fun. We got to sit on a mound, so we were up out of the water. And
Shannon did great. That was only her second time using a shotgun, one of my shotguns. So she did great. Like it was a lot of fun. I learned how sneaky teal can be. Who knew? Those little buggers just pop up and you're like, where'd they come from?
Yeah, they fly low when you're used to looking for big ducks kind of a little higher in the air column, and then the teal just zoom in 20 yards off the water. Yeah, they took us by surprise a time or two, you know. But yeah, it was a good time. And like the cool thing is we got to hunt that really for being public land. We had a short walk. I think our walk was maybe 250 yards, and only probably like 100 yards of that was through the water, and it was shallow water with a good bottom. I mean, like for public land hunting without a boat, it was pretty dang easy.
Nice. Sounds like a good week trip, because that was what, a Wednesday?
It was a Wednesday before Thanksgiving they went out there.
Nice.
Yeah,
It wasn't bad.
which was kind of an unfortunate time to draw because
Curtis couldn't find anybody to go with him.
Well, but also normally I like to try to hunt when I'm going there, try to hunt for 2 to 3 days because I do have backup spots that you don't have to draw into over there. But it's like I couldn't miss Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is one of the hardest days to draw on these areas because everybody
hunts. Yeah.
Of course, at Ted Shanks one year, we did draw number 1 on Thanksgiving Day, and that's the day my dad shot a Drake canvasback. We limited out, me, my dad, and my brother. And we were the last ones to draw and drew number 1 at Ted Shanks.
That's pretty cool.
So it can happen. I don't want to drive people away. Hunt if you can, but for me, I just could hunt that one day and I had to come back, which is kind of a bummer. But
And it's really easy, by the way. As out of state, you can do a little day pass, and it was like, I don't know what, like $15 maybe for the day pass.
Yeah, hunting small game out of state, and small game I'm collectively using waterfowl, upland, squirrels. A lot of places have, like you said, either a day pass or you can buy a week non-resident license, so you don't have to spend the hundreds of dollars you may have to hunt a big game animal like deer or turkey. But small game's a great way to expand and see new country, see new area. Yeah, always fun.
Oh, and it was great. The Super 8 I stayed at, they were like, "You're a hunter?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What time are you leaving?" And I was like, "I don't know, like 3:30." And they're like, "We'll have breakfast out for you." Like, it was great because you could tell it was just all they have is like waterfowl.
That's the community. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
It was super fun. So it was great. I told these guys this, but I wore my Fur Takers sweatshirt to the Walmart to get like hot hands the night before, and I had a lady that was like, "Do you go to those meetings?" And I was like, "No." I'm like, "But I just did the Trappers College," and she was like, "Well, do you know?" They asked, and I was like, "Yeah, I do know that lady. She was one of my instructors at Trappers College." So like middle of nowhere, Missouri, but like this tiny town, this little Walmart happened to know. Like, it's great. It was so much fun. I recommend it. It was a good time.
And then kind of sticking with waterfowl, we had another Mentor Hunt last weekend, and that was in southern Illinois near the town of Pinckneyville. So this was part of we partnered with the Delta Waterfowl. So they developed this program called the University Hunting Program, which is essentially designed to get fish and wildlife students who have no hunting experience, no hunting background, basically designed to get them out in the field and get them educated on the importance of hunting, how to hunt safely, how to hunt effectively, all that kind of stuff. And I think it's really important because especially if you think a lot of these students who are fish and wildlife majors, they're going to be our state biologists. They're going to work with these species. They're going to work with and for hunters. And so I think it's a great program that Delta started. getting these, individuals who have no experience hunting, getting them that experience. And so we took a few university students, and then we also brought in some of our Learn to Hunt participants just to kind of round out the numbers. But unfortunately, we kind of run into the same issue you guys did with not the best weather. It was last weekend, and so we had that really nice snow for, days up until that hunt. And then that hunt, it got like 50 degrees. And when we got down there the evening before, we actually, brought out a skeet thrower and shot some trap and let everybody get comfortable with the shotguns, got them, proficient, got them to handle it safely and all that kind of stuff.
And they
and
did
while
great.
We were sitting there, they did. And while we were
they
sitting
did a really
there,
good
there's
job.
swans flying, there's snow geese flying, there's mallards working in the field, there's mallards working behind us. So
we got lots of pictures that Jason can put.
Yeah, we started to get quite excited that it might be a fairly productive day. But then the morning came, and unfortunately, it was just one of those mornings that when you get in the duck blind, you're like, crap, because there was no wind. There was not a lot going on. And unfortunately, the blind I was in with Lauren and then two of our new hunters, we were facing directly east, which if I'm building a blind, I'm personally not going to put it in that scenario. But where we were, it kind of had to be there if they wanted to blind in that area. So for us, it made it really difficult. We were staring straight into that rising sun. Again, no wind. So our decoys just looked like little plastic fake ducks sitting on the water. There's no movement, nothing going on. We saw, I don't know, a couple decent groups of ducks. We had one group of, let's say, 6 mallards that came and gave us a pretty good look that I think if we were hunting in a different scenario and we were more prepared, we probably would have shot them passing by. But I think our guide expected them to do one more circle, to drop a little bit more in elevation, and then he was going to call a shot. Unfortunately, they never circled. They just kind of gave us that one passing by look, flew down the slough, and then we heard the other blind, bop, 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 bop. So I think that other blind ended up getting 5 out of those 6. And that was really the best action we had during that hunt. We did see a couple divers very early in the morning. And again, the way we were set up with the sun rising in front of us, there was kind of some phragmites on the other side of the slough or of the creek, river, whatever you want to call it. And so the first, let's say like 20 yards of that side of the body of water were super shaded. And so it was very hard to see any waterfowl on that side. And so a lot of those divers early in the morning were just kind of buzzing by in that shade. And by the time we realized, oh yeah, that's a duck flying, it was too late and out of range already. And we just weren't prepared. So we probably could have scratched out a few had we been super prepared for that one group of 6 that kind of gave us a look pretty early. But that was kind of it. And I know, Curtis, you were in another blind that had a little bit more action.
Yeah, we had a little bit more action. We were the A blind. We were the fun blind. So yeah, we had the. I got in the blind with the Delta volunteer. So Ryan Thompson, great guy. He's the I guess the president of the Southern Illinois Delta chapter, and he had a couple of his fellow Delta board members there to help out with this hunt. And then we had the couple college students hunting with us there. And, we were also hunting on just a little pond because a lot of their shallow water was frozen up. So, unfortunately, maybe the best blinds were out of commission because all the water there was frozen. But we didn't have a speck of ice on our water, which was big water.
Same.
And this was the same water that last year we were with a group from hunt camp and we got into a flock of canvasbacks. So I was thinking, maybe we'll get some divers, but we didn't really see much for divers. We did have a handful of ducks and geese moving early. We had one gadwall that I really thought was going to do it. He worked us several times, which, I'm not even used to gadwall working.
Yeah, normally they
kind of come in, but they say these gadwall are very, I guess they're pretty wise around there. I don't know.
I believe it. It very much felt like every duck we saw, we had very stale ducks. It seemed like every duck knew exactly what was going on. The second,
they call and they're like, bye.
Yeah, we had one group of 8 mallards come in right at sunrise. We're like, okay, we start calling. The second we hit a first note, and they turned. I'm like, okay, we're not calling the rest of the day.
Yeah, that was my thoughts as well. But other people in my blind really like to call, so we did a lot of calling. Whatever, we might as well have fun.
Yeah, have fun.
And I joined in because if other people are calling, I'm not going to sit there and just not be calling. But yeah, personally, if I was hunting and I was the one calling the shots, not the guide, given those conditions, I would have pulled all those decoys and just put out 3 jerk decoys, and I wouldn't have made a noise with the call, and I would have just let the motion decoys hopefully pull in some birds, but who knows? Maybe we would have got nothing. Again, anyway, we didn't quite get skunked. We did have one juvenile snow goose kind of come in, and another bummer about hunting with no wind. Not only do your decoys not look alive, it's like a pane of glass, the water, but birds can land from any direction. And this juvenile snow goose from behind us, we had no idea. Just all of a sudden, it is like flapping down into our decoys, which is unusual. You know, normally snow geese, it's like, hey, hopefully you get a pass shot, not into your decoys. But
especially in duck decoys,
was trying to land. Yeah, in duck decoys that did not look good. And anyway, the college students pop up. And Jack was able to get a shot and kind of winged the goose. And so the goose came down, but it wasn't dead. And they're like, got to make a decision. Well, we got Gus, the Wonder Lab, with us, which is a great lab. I've hunted with him a couple times now. He's an awesome conservation tool. I had the utmost confidence in him, and they send him. And I'm like, all right, that goose has had it. But that goose seen Gus coming, man, the big old Wonder Lab, and it got its second wind, and it got a little bit of a loft, and it started flying. And so the guide's like, oh, man, you got to shoot it because it was getting some steam. You know, I don't know how. I thought its wing was broken, but it was actually getting some steam. And so one of the Delta guys had to finish it off. He was able to get a safe shot off once the bird climbed a little bit in altitude and then knocked it down. But it was out there at a sufficient enough distance that even his shot did not kill it. So now the bird had no wing, so it was down. It was a fair fight between the snow goose and Gus the Wonder Lab, and they got in a good little battle. Well, maybe Jason will be able to, and Jason's probably rolling his eyes like, man, I'm going to have to find 100 different clips for this dang thing. But anyway.
I got them all organized for you, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah,
they had a pretty fun little battle, and of course Gus won. The goose dove on him a couple times, and Gus is going around going like, where is he? And then boom, he gets him by the foot of all things, by the foot, and he's like, oh, you're mine. I'm not letting go. And he brought it all the way back, and we were able to finish that goose off, and Jack got his first goose, so he was excited. He was ecstatic, I think. And you'll get to hunt with him at the pheasant hunt this weekend.
Yep, he's coming this weekend. Yep, I'll actually see him tomorrow, bright and early. Yep.
Nice. And his dad, I think, is so excited. His dad sent him like all kitted out. One of our other students was like, "Why do you have all this gear?" And he's like, "My dad sent me." Like his dad, I guess, is a waterfowl hunter. But he's like, "My dad sent me with it all, like all my gear."
So yeah, it was a fun hunt, but like you guys ran, the conditions are just, and that's the real challenge of waterfowl hunting, especially when you're, subject to blind availability, date availability. If that was our personal hunt, I probably wouldn't have even hunted that day, right? But we had the schedule, we had everyone coming, so you just got to do what you got to do. But we ran into really bad conditions, and I want to emphasize what Curtis said about the smaller bodies of water that were likely going to be way more productive for that area were completely froze up. And so when we were down there, I mean, it was, I don't know, in the mid 40s. It was quite warm. We weren't super cold in the blind. We didn't have to turn on the buddy heater or anything. But prior to that, it was super cold, and so everything had frozen up. It was just starting to thaw, and so it's just one of those scenarios. The outfitter actually drove us around after he picked us up out of our blind and show us some of their pit blinds and some of their other, flooded timber sites, flooded cornfields. It looked very ducky, but again, they were just froze, and so we were dealt the hand we were dealt.
Yep, and now it's gonna be 50 next week.
Yeah, tomorrow for our hunt, it's going to be -5 and a high of 12, and then next Wednesday in the 40s. So,
and that's a little more bearable for upland because at least you're like birds because you're moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder for things like deer or waterfowl where you're kind of waiting, especially if you're not in a nice heated waterfowl blind. Yes. I will say with the one with Curtis, it was funny in Missouri because he was building a blind around us like as the day went on. Like he's like, I look over and it's like he just keeps adding. I have some pictures. He keeps adding like moving some marsh grass. It looks like a little muskrat push up kind of starting to like form around us. It was really like to hide us.
Those are my favorite spots to hunt for a waterfowl though. Is the little blind because. And again, we're an outfitter for this Delta hunt. And so it for me, again, I come as a public land hunter. And I grew up, not really waterfowl hunting, but getting into waterfowl hunting in college. And a lot of the areas I hunted in college were just walk-in areas. And so getting in this pre-constructed blind, it's very hard for me to wrap my head around that you're actually somewhat concealed. And I think it's obviously a lot more effective when you have new birds come in, like Curtis was talking about on a flight day where you have new migrants coming in. But when you have these birds that have been there for several weeks, they really start to pick up on where those blinds are. And I think with the conditions we had, the no wind, the better areas froze up, and then as well as just having a bunch of stale birds, it just made it tough. Made it really tough. We didn't even hear a bunch of shooting. You know, that area is there's a lot of waterfowl hunting operations in that area. And we did not hear a ton of shooting.
I sent a picture to one of my friends, and she's like, "It looks like a tiki bar, like the blinds with the grass and stuff." And I was like, I never thought about it that way, but I can definitely see why you think about that. Like if it's not like
they were very. I was very comfortable.
Oh yeah, it was super cozy, but yeah, it was funny.
I had a high rise like bar stool seat with a cushion on the butt, a cushion on the back. I mean, I could have sat there all day, no problem.
Like a tiki bar.
Yeah, it really did. It did. Like I get where she's coming from. Like it never would occur to me to think of it that way, but yeah.
You ever see those tiki bars that are like little boats that they can be a boat tiki bar? You can get one of those, and that'll be your blind boat. There you go.
Summer.
I don't know which one's more expensive.
Dual purpose it. Get use out of it in the summer too.
There you go.
And one thing that was cool. Just saying, those that are interested in waterfowl hunting. Going with a guide or an outfitter is a great way to get started, because if you don't know your stuff, you don't have any equipment, I mean, those hunts are easy. I talked about how easy our one in Missouri was, public land. That one was easy. There's definitely places we could have drawn that it's a lot harder. I've walked out there for 2 miles and through the water a lot further than what we did for sure to have hunts. But a lot of these outfitters, wow, you get dropped off and you're walking like less than 100 yards. And then I
think we walked like 10 feet.
Oh, yeah. I was like, this is...
He drove the UTV like right up to the door. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then sitting in a comfortable blind with, like you said, heaters if you get cold. I mean, don't be shy to check these out if you're a hunter. There's no shame.
You don't have to worry about calling, IDing ducks, none of that.
Yeah,
you don't have a dog. Most of them do.
Plus, get an idea if this is something you even enjoy before you start buying all the equipment for yourself. So definitely check those out. The one we went through down near Pickneyville, Gander Hill Goose Club. We've hunted with them several times now. I think their going rate is $155 or $150 per person per day. You can come there and get a blind, but there are outfitters all around Illinois. Look them up on Facebook. I know we met Griffin Outdoors or Porter's Hunt Club up at the Sitka Gear store, and they seemed awesome. We worked with them to get a couple hunt camp hunts going. I haven't 100% heard how those went, but it looks like on Facebook that they're doing pretty good up there.
It does.
I'm going next weekend. I'm going with my husband and Minaj. My husband and I were originally going for our anniversary, and Minaj is tagging along just because, which is kind of funny, but it'll be fun. Minaj wanted to go anyway, but he didn't want to go by himself. So I was like, whatever, Minaj, come on.
That's the most Minaj.
But I want to emphasize what Curtis said. I mean, there's very few things you can do in terms of hunting where you're paying $150 a day and you're getting experience, you get the whole shebang. And like Curtis said, there's outfitters all across the state. You don't have to go to Southern Illinois. You don't have to go completely west. Just do your research.
Those rates vary.
And
150 is kind of the low rate, so just keep that in mind. Probably figure you're going to have to spend around $300, but Gander Hill, down if you go way down south, hey, you can hunt there for $150.
Yeah,
and I will say one thing is when I first started getting into hunting, I didn't realize this. When you go with an outfitter, it is fairly common to tip the guide that you're with. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And a lot of times they'll have shotguns you can rent. So even if you're completely new, you can kind of call them and be like, look, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm interested in. Like, let them know, and they'll work with you on it. So, but yeah, Northern Illinois is going to be a little more expensive. Just
like everything is. Yeah.
If you're in the Chicago bubble like I am, it sucks sometimes, but just
20% to just about everything. Yep.
It's still going to be cheaper than a guided deer hunt. So just think about it that way.
Yeah,
you get your most bang for your buck.
Is a low rate for sure, and that's a place that's a duck club, so they have members, and then they just have extra spots that people can get. So that's kind of probably why they can have that lower rate. But yeah, figure probably $250 to $400 a day, but still there's not too many hunting or too many new experiences for that matter, really, that you can do for that amount of money.
I mean, heck, you do a dinner movie date night these days where you go out to a nice restaurant, go out to dinner with your spouse or your partner. You're not far from it.
Yeah, and that's the same stuff you've done 100 times. You know, you're not going to remember that nearly as much as going and trying something new, probably.
Well, like everywhere near me with public land, you need a boat anyway. And it's not just like a little boat. You need you need a boat. It's like 16 to 18 feet long with a certain motor. And it's like for duck hunting. So it's like for certain things near me, it's a lot easier if I want to actually go duck hunting right now. Or, well, by the time I do it, it'll be goose hunting. But if I actually want to do it and it's not in a field, then I need to go, you know. Not that I do like my field goose, but, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say what it was nice, though. We saw quite a few specks flying around, too. That was cool. I don't think I saw nor heard a single Canada while we were down there, but specks were pretty.
My husband was sending us videos. They're all at my house.
Yeah.
They're all hanging out around me.
It might be worth going to sit the river, Dan, one of these afternoons or mornings. I don't know, but I heard a couple honking over there yesterday when I had a mentee out yesterday hunting deer. We didn't see anything, but I heard some stuff honking around that river. We weren't really on the river, but we were close enough. You could hear stuff flying around. And I was like, you might be able to get some Passover shots over along that river here if no one else has really been bugging them.
I wonder if that walk-in area over there with all those ponds, that might be worth hitting too.
Mm-hmm.
That I and Jared hunted a few years ago.
You know, like
it normally does stay open. At least the big. I don't want to drop the name of the lake just because I don't want to spot shake too much. But one of the bigger bodies of water usually remains open.
Yeah, there's not going to be too much open water here in a couple days. So anything open, not just for geese, but any ducks that are around are going to be sucked into that too, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I go back around a deer, since I mentioned it. I had Dean out yesterday.
And that was a hunt camp hunt, right?
A hunt camp hunt, yeah. And I think when I push my hunt camp humps, either we'll have more people come with us for the Sand Ridge camping trip, or I'll just do some October hunts, because I do feel bad for these guys coming out late season who don't know any better.
Yep.
So he learned some things about how to stay warm more than anything yesterday, I think. No, Dean, if Dean listens to this, dude, you did great. He told me when we had a couple pre-meetings before getting going, and I told him how we were going to be hunting, and he thought we might be in a blind or something, and he's going to be worried about moving too much. And I was like, get a blanket. I'm like, I got a blanket if you want to use one, but I have these camouflage blankets. My buddy who I was talking about earlier, my buddy Ed, he had one year, and I was like, man, that's a nice blanket. I got to get me a blanket.
I saw that tip from you. That's on our Christmas list this year. I was like, this is a great tip.
Mm-hmm. So he gave me it for my birthday, I think a year or two ago. But anyway, so I was like, dude, just get a blanket, cover your legs up. You can sit there and jitter your leg all day long if you need to jitter your leg around. And he came with the huge blanket that was it was perfect. And I don't know if he was moving his legs or not. Never saw it. So if that worked out for him, that's great. But he made some good points where he was just like. He the same thing that we always talk about. He's like, man, sitting here is its own skill. I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, in the morning we sat till about 9:30. And I was hunting the area where I shot my deer at with my firearm. Go back a little bit. I met him and I told him to meet me at this one parking lot, and we got there and the gate was closed. And I think it's when there's bad weather, they don't want to do snow removal on that one little hill. And they have a gate there, so they close it so they don't have to worry about clearing that road off. And I was kicking myself after we didn't see deer where we went. I kind of was trying to give myself a reason to go to where I shot my deer, because I'm like, I know there's at least 7 more does left up there in that herd. So we can go back up to that field and try to get one of them. But I probably could have just walked around that gate, and it was only going to add like another 100 yards to our walk. Like there's no reason for me not to go around that gate, but we ended up going to a different spot. So we went up to the hill that I shot, the field that I shot my doe on, and he was concerned about how we were sitting, and I'm like, you're fine as long as, like, I didn't have much in front of him, but we were in a bush, so it was like a fallen down pine tree basically that we were tucked up into, and he sat there great, and but by 9:30 he's like, my feet are cold and I can't feel my toes, so I'm like, all right, let's head back to the truck. Yeah, I'm like, dude, it's your hunt, I'm not gonna make you sit out here, like. He's like, all right, let's get out of here. I'm like, all right, fine. So we got back to the truck, and we found a new diner that I'd never been to before. So I was thinking in my head, I'm like, hey, here's a good example of hunters affecting the economy. I went to a restaurant I would never been to if I wasn't hunting out that way. So then we had a great breakfast at this diner, and then through talking, I mentioned to him that I had 2 pairs of socks on, and he's just like, oh, and he's like, I brought an extra pair in case my feet got wet. And then when we went back out again, he mentioned to me, he's like, I was going to take off the 1 pair that I thought was wet, but I just put the other pair on. And then he didn't complain about having cold feet again. So he's learning his clothing out, which you'll do as you go out. You'll trial and error how many layers you need to stay warm out there when it's this cold out. And then something else I noticed when we sat down the second time was that, because the second time I took him to a spot that I've always seen, every time I sat there, I've seen a deer come out of this area. It's a natural funnel between these 2 ridges that come down to where these 2 huge ridges almost touch each other. And it's probably about a 15-yard gap between the 2 ridges. And if the deer want to come off of this bottomland area, they have to go between this 15-yard gap. Like there's no other way for them to get through this. So it's like the most natural funnel I've found scouting. So I'm like, all right, we went from hunting the side of a field in the morning where I don't know if a deer would have been in range or not, but he would have seen one. But this time I'm like, all right, this is bedding area. If they want to come out of here to go feed for the night, we're going to see him come out of this thicket. And we didn't see anything. But going back to clothing and stuff, he's sitting there and he was hot because this one you needed to walk a mile to get to. And we had to stop a few times and then we kept going. But he's sitting there and his jacket's all open. And I'm like, hey man, just a tip. Like, I know you're hot right now. And like, usually I had all my clothes on my back. Like I'm like, you should not have your clothes on and walk out and don't sweat. And he still put all his clothes on and still walked out. And he had it all unzipped and stuff, but he was still wearing it. Probably he didn't have a backpack to put it on his mic. Man, also carrying clothes that far sucks too. So I get it. But if you can get a backpack, I literally had like the insulated bibs and everything, and I had that rolled up tight and stuck on the side of my backpack, and my jacket was in my backpack and everything else. So
very commonly, I'm walking into just a t-shirt, even when it's freaking cold. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I had more clothes than I would normally have on, but I had on my long johns and my sweatshirt. But I had all my other outer external stuff in my backpack. So we got out there. I'm sitting there getting dressed, and he's just plopped down. And he's just sitting there getting ready, and he had all his jackets and stuff all still unzipped, and he was like kind of cooling off because he was hot from walking. I'm just like, hey, you just zip that up now. And I'm like, I know you're warm now, but you gotta keep that heat in there. And then he zipped all of his zippers up. Like as soon as I said that, he's sitting there. I all of a sudden I just start hearing like zippers and straps and buttons and everything else, and he just zips everything up. And I'm like, yeah, like now that we're here, like keep that heat in. Yeah. And then he didn't complain about being cold again from then on. But he was talking to me.
It was chilly.
Yeah, he was talking to me about just the mindset of sitting there and about how he did the classic, like how he works a lot on computers. He basically lives on computers with his job. And he was saying how happy he was that he got out. And was able to get away from computers for a bit and stuff like that. But he was mentioning he's turkey hunted before, and I think he's duck hunted before. So he's bird hunted, which again we've talked about the difference between how far off deer hunting is to these other activities. And he's just like, man, this whole other skill that you need to have to be able to sit here this long. I'm like, yeah. And then we were getting close. He had to drive back up to Chicago. We're down in Central Illinois, and that storm was coming in. And he was debating on when did we want to hunt till. We were talking about this at the diner. And about if that storm was going to come through, if he had to drive through it, because they're expecting to get 2 to 3 inches from 5 to 9, so it's going to fall pretty quick.
It's super windy too,
and super windy too. So I'm like, all right, man. How about? I'm like, well, one, we're going to walk a mile in. It's going to be about a 40-minute walk with how slow we're going to probably walk in, and then I might lie to him and said it was a 20-minute walk, but it was about 45 minutes. And then we got there, and I'm like, all right, if you shoot a deer right now, we're looking at having to walk back out and then get the deer cart and come back. I'm like, you're looking at at least 2 hours worth of work after you shoot something down here. And I'm like,
if everything goes well, yeah.
If everything goes well, exactly, yeah, at least 2 hours. I'm like, if he drops it, that's not counting like tracking it and trying to find it in a snowstorm. But so I was cutting it close. I was cutting it probably too close, but he was going to hunt till 4. We said, all right, what if we hunt till at least 4? I mean, it's going to be kind of twilight, like getting dark at that point. It was cloud cover and stuff like that. And then we got to be 4 o'clock. And then I was like, well, it hasn't started snowing yet. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, are you going to get it back out again this season? Like, is this your only day you're ever even going to hunt this year? And he's just like, all right. And then I'm like, you let me know when you want to leave. And then we got to be, we probably left 10 minutes early. By all said and done, we probably left at like 4:45 when we could have left hunted till 4:55 or something like that. But anyway, so I'm glad he stuck it out, and I'm happy that he was happy with how it went, even though we didn't see anything. And he's never seen deer sign in person before, so he was new. I mean, he was like, oh, that's what deer scrat looks like. Oh, that's what a scrape looks like. Oh, that's what, well, not scrape, but rubs. We're seeing rubs. The scrapes were covered by snow. But no, so it was a great experience. And then he was giving me good tips for our program. He was saying that he wanted, he's like, dude, just give me a quick video of like the 5 things I need to look at when I'm deer scouting that I can watch real fast before I go out that day. Because it's not to say I'm too lazy to watch an hour-long video of how to go scouting, but I need give me like a cheat sheet. I'm like, all right, buddy, I'll work on. I'll try to. Yeah, between now and the scouting season, I'll try to work on that. But anyway, so it was just interesting. We had a good conversations and stuff like that. Nice. But yeah, no, I mean, deer hunting is not for everybody, and it's tough. And I think it's great, especially if you're getting started, to go with someone else who may push you. I mean, we might have seen a deer in the last 10 minutes of light. I mean, I don't know if we would have been in trouble at that point with a snowstorm coming or not, but at least you would have. If you want someone to help push you and make you stay out there a little bit longer, or it's better to go out with folks if you're afraid you're not staying out long enough and missing opportunities, but in a healthy way, not in the point where you're getting frostbite. But anyway, so it was fun. He did a great job though, and he did not move. I was worried he's going to be jittery as heck when he told me. He's like, I move a lot, but he sat great in the hard. I put him in some pretty tough spots that you need him not move. If a deer did come in, him not moving would have been key, and he did great.
We do have an intro to deer scouting video, by the way. I think it's like a 5 to 7 minute video somewhere in there.
I told him that. I did tell him that. I know. I'm like, we got like a 7 minute long one, man. How short do you need it to be? I'm like, come on. But yeah, so we got stuff on there. There's some old videos in there if you want to go dig them up, folks. That covers almost everything. So
it's interesting though, because I think of turkey and deer as being really similar in my mind, but maybe for other people they're not.
It's the goblin, and you can move around a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really view them as similar personally. Yeah.
I guess because for me, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
With turkey, you know when you have to be quiet and still. With deer, you don't.
I guess that's
you're quiet and still the whole time.
About. Yeah, you have to sit there for potentially hours. I mean, some people sit all day, so you're talking maybe 10, 12 hours at a time. At least. Whereas I guess for me, it's 3 to 4, and you got to pretend like it could come at any time.
For me, they're like the still ones versus like the like upland run around with dogs, like rabbits. You know what I mean? Like they're not the like your constant motion.
Fair enough. I get that. Like you can't move. You're hunting things that can see movement that you can't really be moving when you're trying.
Yeah, versus like
things you're trying to scare.
Yeah, or like how we squirrel hunt. Like you're moving. Like it's just moving. Yeah. Like you're moving the whole time.
Yeah, but that's the way we turkey hunt too. We're moving 90% of the time until we get a bird that's right on us, and so the amount of time that you actually have to sit still and quiet is like, I mean, what, max maybe? I mean, unless if you're on the edge of a field, you might have to do it for 3 or 4 hours, which I've done. But in the woods, I mean, an hour max.
Yeah,
I was thinking about like the first one when I went with Jason.
I was about ready to say that. I'm like, we sat for a long time that one morning. But then if you remember, because we weren't hearing nothing, we didn't know where to go.
And then we just walked around.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, we haven't heard anything. There's no birds in this section of Shawnee that we're currently in. So I just sat there, and then eventually we went for a hike, basically. And then we ended up getting that one. That was one of the worst. There's been 2 really bad spots that I've walked around at, and both of them have been on our spring turkey hunts. One was with Lauren and Jacob when we went, and we were in a freshly cut, like, it was like all these little trees that were like a finger width. We were going through all these saplings. That was like a crazy like an obstacle course. Remind me of like
the really thick pine needles with my very slow like fall. Jacob's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm falling. Take my shotgun." He's like, "Because I'm like these saplings aren't going to save me." I'm like, "Just take this. There's nothing to grab onto." Yeah.
Yep. So we all fell and stuff. So that was horrible. Walked through that thicket, and and there's no way around. It was so thick. We're like, well, we could try to walk around this, but I think going through it's the best way. So we just had to cut through this thicket of saplings.
And like slightly uphill. Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah. And then a very similar situation was the hike that we did with Kelly and her husband the second year when we couldn't find a spot. And then it was the spot we hunted right before we found the turkeys when we went across the street. So Curtis remembers that. When I looked at Curtis and I was like, this sucks. And then and I think I shouldn't have said that out loud, but it was how I was feeling at the time. Yeah, so we were walking through this horrible thicket up on top of this like little honeycomb ridge thing. And then we there's nothing on top of that ridge. We turned around, went back to the car, and then crossed the street. And that's when we had an opportunity. But yeah, sometimes you'll go through some thickets. What are you going to do?
My experience of it.
Yep.
My moment of that was through that flooded cornfield, and I hit like a little corn shock and a little hole, and I was just like, I had to take a second. And I was just like, I know this isn't that bad. I'm like, I need like a stick or something because I was like, if I fall, I'm gonna be so mad, like walking through this because Curtis is tall, so he's just like la 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 la, and I'm just like, I hate this so much. Like it's not even that bad. It's just it's so squishy, and yeah, like I'm gonna be so upset if I fall over.
I remember Jason on that turkey hunt. I just like look over and he's like totally stuck in like 7 different trees, and he's just like, "Man, this sucks." It was just funny. I was like, "You mean this is awesome?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah. I mean, this is great."
It's just sometimes there's a moment where you're just like, I just need to be mad about this for 1 second. It happens to us too, where you're just like, it's fine. I'll get over it. It's just,
Yep.
I mean, sometimes you start walking through woods and it's like, what are those things? Like the finger trap, right? Like the further you go, the harder
the Chinese finger traps. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh man, well I'm already in here this far. I can't really go back out. But then it just keeps getting worse and worse. It was kind of like that. But that's kind of fun to bring new people in and just show them that like, hey, this happens sometimes, and you just got to fight your way through it, and you live to hunt another day. And then it was after that we actually got onto those turkeys. So
yep.
I had a squirrel hunt with Dan last year where the forest was determined to take his hat. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I lost it like every 10 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. Like,
yep. That's
cool. Well, anything else? I think that's all that we've got for this episode. But I do want to wish everybody, I think this will be our last episode before the holiday season. So I do want to wish everybody a good holiday season. I hope you get outdoors and get to spend some time outdoors. And if you're a long-time hunter, consider taking somebody new out today. And if you're a new hunter yourself, consider taking the next step and either, coming to one of our workshops, events, webinars, and then just try to take that next step. And I do want to emphasize we have a new event coming. We are working with our good buddies over at the Kane County Pheasants Forever chapter. So Freddie and his crew, he will be posting the event. So we're doing a partnered event. He will be posting the event through his program and handling the registration, things like that. We will also have a link directly to it through our calendar and all our social media. So that should come out probably in the next couple of days. We're supposed to hop on a call and kind of hash out the last few minute details. But essentially, it's going to be a really fun event, February 28th. So go ahead and save that date if you're interested. It's going to be at the St. Charles Sportsman's Club in kind of northeastern Illinois. It's a really nice facility. And this event's going to be a lot of fun. It's kind of we're kind of using it as our end of season wrap up. And so we're calling it tentatively the Beast Feast. We're going to bring a ton of different wild game dishes, and we're going to prepare a really nice kind of smorgasbord of different wild game meals for you to sample. But we're also going to rent out St. Charles Sportsman's Club has a really nice, if you've never been there, really nice sporting clays course that you can shoot. And we're actually going to rent out the first, I think, 5 or 6 stations. So bring your shotguns. If you don't have a shotgun, we will have ammo and shotguns provided that you can shoot. So we'll get to do a little bit of that, maybe get to do a little bit of archery, get to hang out a little bit, eat some good wild game, talk, and just kind of enjoy everybody's company. So again, that's going to be February 28th at St. Charles Sportsman's Club. So registration will probably open, like I said, within the next week, I imagine. So just keep a lookout and save that date. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so we plan to use this as a fundraiser for Hunt Camp, right? Is that still the plan?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is going to be an opportunity to donate directly to Hunt Camp. So we've never really had this before, but we're going to do these tickets for this Beast Feast that's going to be basically donate what you can. So, you know what? If you're tight on money and you just want to come and eat some wild game, just come for free. No big deal. But you know what? If Santa has been kind to you and your stocking is full and you want to donate a few bucks, all the money that from tickets are going to go directly towards Hunt Camp 2026 with the specific purpose of trying to get some really awesome hunts to put on the prize table for Hunt Camp 2026. And that's because we just don't have enough time historically to really secure good hunts by the time we get hunt camp ticket funds, right? Because most people are procrastinators, right? I mean, guilty. We all do it. But most people are buying those tickets in the last 3 weeks. And by the time that happens, we start looking for hunts. And guess what? We don't have nearly as many options. And maybe they're not as cheap as if we had that money a little bit beforehand. So we're trying this out. We're going to have an awesome beast feast where you can come out. It's going to be an evening you're not going to forget for sure, because you're going to get to try some cool wild game. We're working on the menu right now. We're going to release that as soon as we get it finalized. But you're going to get to try some awesome stuff. You're going to get a chance to shoot some stuff. All this is going to be covered. So that's going to be a date night that you can't find many places. If your stocking's full, hey, donate us some money, and we will get some awesome hunts for Hunt Camp 2026. Thanks to that help. So it's gonna be a good time. We're trying it out, and hopefully this will be a thing we do every year. So,
and again, a huge thanks to the Kane County chapter of Pheasants Forever, who's kind of handling all the back end side of this thing. And again, a huge hand to the St. Charles Sportsman's Club. Freddie and I went up there a few weeks ago and pitched the idea to at one of their board meetings, and they were all about it. They were super excited, super enthusiastic. And so we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time. And one more event I want to mention, if you happen to be up in that neck of the woods, so kind of the northeastern part of the state, Chicago, next Thursday, so December 18th, Lauren Dean and I will actually be up at the Sitka Outdoor Store in Vernon Hills. We're going to be doing a kind of a wild game cooking demonstration as well as tasting. So if you're interested, we will be up there on the 18th of December. And I think the event starts at 4 or so. Sitka said they're going to do a few giveaways, and it's going to be a fun time. But if you're just looking for a fun way to waste a few hours on Thursday evening, come visit us and see us out there. It should be a lot of fun.
For sure, and we should mention for that one, registration is not even required. So this is different than our normal events. Hey, just come on up, and if you can't make it by 4, you guys will be there for 3 hours. Come on up, try some food, and Sitka always gives away some sweet stuff. Dude. I personally don't have the Sitka gear myself, but I just sat in a duck blind with 2 guys from Southern Illinois that were basically selling me on it, saying that, hey, I would rather spend money on comfort than nicer decoys. And I'm like, that makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is literally the first Sitka apparel I've ever bought. We were up there a few weeks ago doing another event. I think I gave a seminar on late season deer hunting strategies at the Vernon Hills store. And while we were up there, they had a big sale going on. So all of the orange Sitka that's kind of themed at the Illinois Sitka stuff was on sale for 50%. So I got a really nice hoodie for, I think it was $30. I mean, it's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get a good review from Minaj. So Minaj, he, with his awesome venison curry at Hunt Camp, he really stole the show, and he won the top prize. And so he's got some Sitka gear, and Minaj is he's allergic to the cold, so he's the perfect person to test this stuff out. So I am curious to ask him after this year, hey, how did that stuff perform?
Yeah, Lauren, see if he has it on next weekend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I can tell you, when we were in Missouri at that draw, there was it looked like it was a buy one get one free sale for Sitka for their pants. It was everybody there had the same pants, so they must be pretty cozy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, all those 20-something-year-old waterfowlers, they're all wannabe YouTube sensations. They all dress alike. Pretty sure they all share the same
They all had the same pants. It was kind of funny to see. Yeah, and then there were the old guys who were just rocking up and were whatever. They clearly didn't care, but it just made me laugh because I was wow, that is a lot of Sitka gear.
Yeah, and here I am, I showed up in my camo sweatpants that are from 2005, full of holes, full of just tears, and hey, they work. They're warm. Good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, again, we want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. Hope you get to spend some really good time with your family, spend some time outdoors. And again, it's going to be a really interesting time of year because the weather is going to be doing a lot of this. So if you're focused still on deer, if it was me, I'm going to be very much paying very close attention to those changing weather patterns and trying to be right at the front of that. If you have a super cold snap where you have 4 or 5 days of cold and then boom, you have a warm up event, I'm probably going to try to be out at that warm-up event. And same vice versa. If it's warm and you have a really frigid day, try to focus on those changing weather patterns, and that can be one of the most productive strategies this time of year for deer. And I'll give one other quick tip just because I was typing out an article I'm putting together today on kind of late season stuff. And one thing that I really like to focus on, and it's kind of appropriate right now, is we have snow on the ground. So if you're of the belief that you still want to try to fill a tag this year for deer season, try to go out and scout while there's still snow on the ground. Snow can tell you so much current, up-to-date information that you can say, hey, this snow came in last night. So this sign I'm seeing, these tracks, these beds, that was all made within the last 12 hours. And so it can give you that really up-to-date information. Because remember, like we harp on this a lot, deer behavior changes seasonally. So as the food sources come and go, their movements are going to change. As the weather changes, their bedding locations are going to change. And so using the snow and using snow events to help you kind of create that up-to-date itinerary in your head almost of what the deer are currently doing at that specific area can be really productive this time of year. So focus on those changing weather patterns. If it's very cold, try to get on the south sides of slopes and then get out there and continue scouting. I think a lot of people don't give the late season the credit they deserve, and they just kind of rely on, what I've been seeing the entire year, what I saw in October, what I saw in November. The deer are doing a lot different stuff now than they were in October and November. So oftentimes they're going to be keyed in on different food sources, and snow events can really help you kind of monitor and track that.
Or heck, even if you can't get out for deer hunting, even if you're busy with the holidays, like look in your yard, use it as a chance to practice. I saw a couple really good squirrel prints this morning. Like it's a good chance to practice. We always get people that are like, oh, I want to learn, different tracks. Now's a good time. See what's hanging out under your shed. See what's around,
Even if your tag
tracks
is
in the snow, that's cool.
Full, even if you're already done hunting, utilize the snow as this is your chance to learn. This is the snow. It makes everything equal, right? It's like the Fisher Price My First Tracking, like everything, you don't have to be like this expert, Native American tracker. Everything is out there and you can follow animals and learn so much. You can learn everything they're doing. There's no secrets. It's all written out there like a story to be read.
I saw something cool yesterday in the field that we were hunting in. One, it looked like a dang football. I told him, I'm like, I swear there's deer over here. And I'm like, let's come over here and look at this. And we went over to the side of the field where I had shot, where that herd had come out, and it looked like a football game was played. Like there was looked like a cow pasture.
Heck. Yeah.
But another thing I saw, which wasn't tracks, but it was how deer have treaded down the ground on that field, was that there was a trail that led from the side-by-side trail, whatever you want to call it, the horse trail that came up to that field, going straight across the field and then over to that edge, was where people wouldn't want to walk that, but you can see where the animals had treaded it down to where it was a little bit of a ditch area. It was like slightly recessed, and then the snow was still in that trail. So it was like someone took a highlighter and just highlighted that's where the ground was pushed down at. And
probably just because of the freeze thaw as they walk so consistently in that area.
So they consistently walk that trail. I'm like, that's a animal trail right there. Like you can see where the snow is still snow and it's not melted yet. It's because it's slightly like in the shade because it's concave there. So you can actually see where paths are that animals walk in a field where you normally don't see, like where like in the woods, you see where leaves are disturbed, right? But going out into that field there, I'm like, holy cow, that's one path right there. That's where they come and cut across into this path right here. They come right down across the field right there. So that was a neat one. So that wasn't an actual track. It's just how the snow melts on the landscape, and seeing how that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things to do is just follow my dog, like watch.
Yeah.
Because like I can see the tracks, right? Because like obviously, I mean, his nose is amazing. So it's kind of fun to see, like watch as he sees it, and like because I know he's not using his eyes for it, so it's cool to see like, and then when he like goes past where the tracks turn, like see him back up, and like I don't know, it's just really cool to actually be able to see what I know he's smelling. So I like watching my dog, so it's just fun to kind of go do that too. If you're a dog nerd like me, it's fun to do this time of year.
I would say 1 hour of scouting in the winter is worth like 12 hours of scouting in August, September. Just all these things we're saying, they become so apparent. You can walk by and scout an entire ridge side in one walk, whereas in September, you're like walking one trail. That's all you can see, right?
And I think one thing we've all hinted at here, but we haven't necessarily like spelled it out. But one of the biggest reasons I like to scout in the snow is when you're scouting outside of snow events, there are so many few areas where an animal can actually imprint a track into the ground. And so you're already removing like 90% of where that animal normally moves just because where they're walking isn't conducive for making a track. But when there's snow, it's literally an even playing field. Every single place they walk has that ability to imprint a track. And so you just get so much more information. Like Curtis said, you can literally walk a ridge and just, oh yeah, look, there's a huge trail going side sloping 2/3 up that trail just because you see it.
Well, and I spend a lot of time thinking about scent, and it just really upsets me that I can't see how my dog can smell. Like, I can't visualize that. And so this is this time of year I can it's the best I can get. You know what I mean? Is kind of to visualize that. So I really like that aspect of it too. So
yeah. And going back to what Dan was saying, just think about all the times you've ever been on a hike before and how you step in wet mud. Sometimes you leave a boot track, and then all the times you don't leave a boot track.
Yeah.
And it's 99% of the other steps are not leaving a boot track.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I've got to get going and pack up the truck for our big upland hunt tomorrow. But again, thanks everyone for listening. Sign up for our events. Again, February 28th. And we're going to add a bunch more events coming up. So just kind of keep checking the calendar. But send us stories, send us pictures. We love hearing about all your guys' experiences.
Mm-hmm. And take somebody new hunting. Dan mentioned it, but Christmas break.
Make that your New Year resolution.
Yeah, Christmas break to New Year's, a lot of people are off. This is the perfect time to take somebody new, young, old. If you've got that friend that you maybe play fantasy football with or you play skee ball with, get them out hunting. Try something new. Maybe it's not going to be for them, but this is the perfect time to go for a squirrel hunt or something like that, just a casual little couple hours in the woods. Introduce somebody new. You never know when you're going to make the next Fred Bear,
Yep. And you're getting a little bit of that vitamin D,
Yeah.
Or share your favorite dish. That works too.
Fever.
If you can't take them out, that food goes a long way.
Yeah, everybody needs that sunshine this time of year. People are getting that the old seasonal depression. You got to get them outside, get a little sunshine on their face, and guess what? They're going to feel $1 million better.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll catch up with everybody on the next one.
See ya.
Awesome. See y'all.